By reading 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 1 through 2, we can see that some Christians from Thessalonica were worried due to the fact that some false teachers had told them, in so many words, that they had actually been left behind at the rapture, which allegedly had somehow escaped their notice. And Paul was simply assuring those misinformed Thessalonian Christians that the rapture had not yet occurred. Paul was saying that the day of the Lord had not yet started. The day of the Lord will start on the calendar day in which the POST Trib Rapture occurs. Here is a timeline of the 7-year period that will immediately precede the POST Trib Rapture. The Antichrist will confirm the covenant with many here 7 years before the rapture. This is 1 year after the confirmation of the covenant. This is 2 years after, and 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 years after the confirmation of the covenant. And of course, notice that the exact middle of this 7-year period is right here. 3.5 years after the confirmation of the covenant and 3.5 years before the post-trib rapture. The abomination of desolation will occur right here, 3.5 years before the rapture. The Antichrist will be revealed at that time, and the tribulation will start right here, 3.5 years before the rapture. The Bible prophesies a 3.5-year tribulation. The Bible does not prophesy a 7-year tribulation, but all kinds of Christians claim that the tribulation will last for 7 years. But what I will focus on in this video is what Paul was actually doing in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 1 through 10, what Paul wrote and what Paul did not write. First of all, always remember that the post-trib rapture will occur on the same calendar day that the day of the Lord will start on. Paul was trying to assure Christians from Thessalonica that the day of the Lord had not yet already started. Some false teachers had been spreading confusion in Thessalonica. Paul was actually using the unfulfilled status of the revealing of the Antichrist. The Antichrist had not yet been revealed. Paul was using that unfulfilled status as absolute proof that the rapture and the start of the day of the Lord had not yet come to pass. Doing what Paul did is like one day, many months before Christmas, saying to some worried person, "Don't worry, you have not missed Christmas Day. You have not even missed Halloween or Thanksgiving. Consequently, you have absolute proof that you have not missed Christmas Day. Halloween and Thanksgiving occur before Christmas. Don't worry." That's what you could tell that worried person. Now, for instructional purposes, hypothetically suppose that the rapture was destined to occur 7 years before the day of the Lord. Right here. And suppose that some Christians from Thessalonica needed to be assured merely that the day of the Lord had not already started. In that scenario, Paul would have said something like, "Don't worry, the day of the Lord has not already started, and we know so because we have not yet been raptured." The unfulfilled status of the rapture proves that the day of the Lord has not already started. Paul could have said that, but he did not. Paul did not say that simply because the rapture is destined to be a post-trib rapture. If you carefully read 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 10, then you can see that Paul was assuring Thessalonian Christians that neither the rapture nor the start of the day of the Lord had already come to pass. Paul assured those Christians of those two facts by simply pointing out the fact that the Antichrist had not yet been revealed. 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 10 thereby proves that the rapture will not be a pre-trib rapture. Carefully meditate on the fact that Paul referenced the revealing of the Antichrist. If Christians were destined to get raptured before the Antichrist commits the abomination of desolation, thereby revealing himself to be the Antichrist, then Paul would not have referenced the revealing of the Antichrist the way that Paul did in 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 10. In other words, if Christians were destined to get raptured before the revealing of the Antichrist, then Paul would not have used the unfulfilled status of the revealing of the Antichrist as an assurance technique. Think about it. If Christians were destined to get raptured before the revealing of the Antichrist, then it would have been pointless for Paul to basically write, as he actually did, Christians have not yet seen the revealing of the Antichrist. It would have been pointless for Paul to have written that if Christians were not destined to see the revealing of the Antichrist in the first place. And Paul did not write, and Paul did write that in so many words. Go back and reread 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 10. 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 1 simply announced that the subject matter was the coming of Jesus Christ and the rapture. And then in 2 Thessalonians 2, 2 revealed that the day of the Lord had not yet started. 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 prophesied that the Antichrist will be revealed sometime before the start of the day of the Lord. And 2 Thessalonians 2, 4 referenced the abomination of desolation, which is the event that will positively identify which person is the Antichrist. If Christians were destined to get raptured before the abomination of desolation, in other words, before the revealing of the Antichrist, then Paul would not have referenced the Antichrist and the abomination of desolation in Paul's attempt to assure Thessalonian Christians that the start of the day of the Lord had not yet come to pass, and assuring Thessalonian Christians that the day of the Lord had not yet started is exactly what Paul was doing in 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 10. Paul was referencing tribulation era events that tribulation era Christians will witness before the rapture occurs. Paul was referencing tribulation era events that tribulation era Christians will witness before the start of the day of the Lord. But Paul was not teaching that Thessalonian Christians and himself had been left behind at a pre-trib rapture. Paul was basically saying, I know that some of you have been worried that the rapture and the start of the day of the Lord have already come to pass. However, before the rapture occurs and before the start of the day of the Lord comes to pass, the Antichrist will be revealed and he will do certain things. And the simple fact that the Antichrist has not yet been revealed is a fact that proves that the rapture and the start of the day of the Lord have not yet come to pass. That's what Paul basically said in 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 10. If Christians were destined to get raptured before the 3.5-year Antichrist era, the tribulation, then in 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 10, in his attempt to assure Thessalonian Christians that the day of the Lord had not yet started, Paul would not have referenced the 3.5-year Antichrist era, an era that Christians would not have been destined to witness within a pre-trib rapture scenario. Rather, if the rapture was destined to be a pre-trib rapture, then Paul would have simply said something like, "Don't worry, the day of the Lord has not yet started, and I can prove it. We are still here on earth. We have not yet been raptured. The rapture will occur several years before the day of the Lord begins, and that fact proves that the day of the Lord definitely has not yet started." But Paul did not say that because the rapture is destined to occur immediately after the tribulation. The 2 Thessalonians 2:1 gathering is the Matthew 24:31 gathering. And Matthew 24:29 proves that the Matthew 24:31 gathering will occur immediately after the tribulation. The Holy Bible repeatedly prophesies that the rapture will occur after the tribulation. If you have decided to fight the Holy Bible, then you have placed your soul into the hands of demons. And now is the time to get out.